So Ron Wyden, who's the top Democrat on the Senate's tax writing committee, has pitched a new capital gains tax. It would tax long-term investments as if they're income. Now, the thing we point out right away as we start talking about this is there's very little chance of this actually becoming law, especially anytime soon. But if Democrats were to maybe take over the Senate the next election, and certainly if they were to take over the White House or take it back, then tax plans like this might gain a little steam or certainly get more attention. So the question becomes, would it help? Would it hurt the economy? From the Independent Women's Forum, Patrice Onwuka joins us, along with Democratic strategist John Summers, former Republican Colorado State Senator Ted Harvey. John, why don't I start with you on this, on the Democratic reason for bringing it up? Is it as simple as that, to just lay out an agenda? Because I think it is fair to say this isn't necessarily being written into law anytime soon. So what do you make of it?
Well, the reality is that America has a cash flow problem, right? We're spending way more money, billions of dollars more a year than we're actually bringing in revenue. And one of the reasons, and so we've got a debt of about $22 trillion, a record debt that has only skyrocketed under this administration. So Democrats are trying to come up with a solution to bring some sanity back, not only to this debt and deficit issue, but also to our tax code, so that we're addressing the issue of inequality. And I should point out that this Wyden plan only applies to 0.1% of Americans. So you literally have to make hundreds of millions of dollars a year for this to affect you.
The reason that's a key point, maybe for that reason, because it wouldn't affect a lot of people, Patrice. And those types of plans, if you say you pull something like that, right, that doesn't, if it's the four of us on the panel and none of us, I presume, is making $100 million a year. Maybe except Ted. But no, if none of us are making $100 million a year and you ask us about something that's going to affect people who make over that threshold, whatever it is, well, oh, man, I'm all for that. But as soon as you get to something that actually affects you, then you say, no, I don't want it to happen. So you could see why they talk about something like this, Patrice, even though, again, it's not going anywhere. What do you think?
Well, the soak the rich kind of tax scheme is really rich. It's not surprising that Democrats are using this to kind of fund their pipe dreams. I mean, my colleague, though, talked about being fiscally conservative, but or responsible. But let's look at spending in the federal budget, and most of that spending is untouched. You're looking at entitlements, and Democrats have not talked about reducing entitlements or dealing with them at all. They want to expand them, and so why not introduce a way to increase revenue, thinking that the populist wave on both the left and the right would support that. And I think it's dangerous when you look at how this could backfire in the economy in terms of reducing the amounts of investment, reducing amounts of savings, and slowing economic growth.
Well, it does bring up, Ted, I don't know if you what you think of this, but it does bring up maybe, Neil brings this up all the time, that nobody seems to really care about deficits anymore. And it's, it's hard to find certainly any Republicans who want to do anything but cut taxes. Democrats say, no, to John's earlier point, you need to raise revenue somehow. And then on the other side of it, it's the spending issue. So each party has its sticking point that it's not willing to budge on, and we never really move anywhere on getting more fiscally sane, do we?
Well, I think that what this is showing is that the left has an insidious desire to continue to grow government, and they will look at every single pot of money to be able to do that, even if it means going after those who are the job creators in this economy. This really is a philosophical fight between job creators and those who want bigger government. And if you look at this deal, you say it is never going to pass, but you look at what the Democrats are doing with the Green New Deal. They're throwing out the most outrageous thing that they can possibly do. They're throwing out this tax proposal, which is the most outrageous thing you could possibly do, just to push the narrative of greater, bigger government and control over our lives. And I don't think that's what the American people want.
It sets the stage for 2020. John shaking his head. He also laughed. I think the word insidious made him laugh. I'm not sure. But what John,
the whole thing makes me laugh. It's just the typical Republican boogeyman that he's trotting out. I mean, these are the same old tired talking points we hear from Republicans.
Reality. There's capitalism and there's socialism, and you are pushing socialism.
And that's the argument.
I'll say, gentlemen, when it comes to
Republicans have a real
Hold on, Patrice,
challenge.
1 second. Just make it quick, John. I'm sorry, because all four of us were talking at once, so you just have to start over and then let me let Patrice go. Go ahead, John.
Republicans shouldn't be afraid of having a conversation. That's what a proposal is. It's a conversation, and they can certainly bring additional ideas to the table. That's all we're talking about here. And Republicans shouldn't be so afraid of that.
What were you saying, Patrice?
Well, a lot of this is meant to address income inequality. But when we look at poor Americans and working class Americans, they may not be paying income taxes, but they're paying payroll taxes, and a lot of that. And so I would love for my Democratic colleagues here to talk about what we can do in terms of reducing payroll taxes.
So the Republican counter then
Americans.
is to reduce payroll taxes. Is that your point, to take on income inequality? That's the Republican counter?
I'm bringing this as an argument to the table because we're talking about we're discussing this issue.
Okay, John?
Let's have it as part of the discussion, right? I mean, it's not, that's not a proposal that I agree with, but I'm behind it. But I'm behind having the discussion. But I will say again, the Wyden proposal, just one of many,
right,
would actually only affect 0.1% of people. So this isn't like the big job creator thing that we're talking about.
Yeah. What about that argument, Ted? That it doesn't really. Then I guess why even propose it if it's not that big of a deal? But Ted, what's your take?
Well, my take is that it is an effort to try to take money away from those that are actually creating jobs. You are incentivizing a system which is going to hurt future generations of workers. These are the guys who risk everything, that go out there and invest their money to create wealth so that they can create jobs. And this proposal is going to do nothing but hurt those efforts to try to use the free market system to create jobs rather than government doing it.
You want to talk to people about being hurt, Ted? Let's talk about the tax cuts that Trump and the Republican Congress passed for the wealthy.
Look at all the jobs
that's not trickling down to people, and it's not trickling down into the treasury.
And our deficit is only fine with that last question. That's what's going to get you in trouble. I said, Connell, don't ask the last question because they'll never get out of it in time, and then you're going to be in trouble, and someone's going to get in your ear and say you only have 5 seconds left, and now it's 3 seconds, and now we'll be right back. Thanks, guys.